I used to be afraid of you, but I don't think I am anymore.
There's nothing to fear except God.
For me, God is a disease.
It's the things that make you look at what you thought you saw in a different light. The hole in the Pentagon being too small for a plane. The lawn isn't mussed up. The government's not showing the plane hitting when many cameras photographed it.
There's nothing to fear except God. God. God.
Oh, if you already know the answers to your questions, then why ask? Next.
It's too big.
Back and to the left. 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 Back and to the left.
All right, everybody, here we are, episode, I think, 4, which means that Austin has to do something he does not want to do. And let's just be honest here. You did tell the people you were going to join Hezbollah, and that would let them down if you didn't do it. So it's getting a little awkward the more episodes we do and you don't do
I've
it.
been
But
trying my best to get into the group, and they're trying to kick me out.
okay, so
Send all complaints to them. I am trying my best here.
no, I'll stop. I'll stop bringing up Hezbollah. I don't know what it was. I think when we were living together, why I keep bringing up Hezbollah just to clear the air. I keep bringing up Hezbollah because I did that Alex Jones impression when we were living together, and I just randomly was saying you were in Hezbollah. So I just always think about you and Hezbollah for some reason, but that's neither here nor
I still
there.
have that
Maybe
recorded on my phone, actually.
I've been going hot on some of these impressions. Maybe people will have to listen to this episode for a solid amount of time, and maybe I'll break it out in 30, 40 minutes. But let's pace ourselves, because this is the Oscar reaction episode to congratulate ourselves that we got basically everything right. And it was just perfect. Our preview show was pretty much perfect. We
Insulted
basically
Demi Moore.
knew. What'd you say?
We insulted Demi Moore.
Yeah, I mean, I said a lot of charged things about an older woman who had her moment, and her moment passed her by. And Mikey Madsen is just she's just a better actress and a more likable person, and whatever. We're not going to get back. We're not going to litigate all the things that I said at the previous episode. We don't really need to talk about that anymore. What matters is that Sean Baker, after making movies for no money forever and being kind of a darling of the festival circuit and independent film, has won 4 Oscars in the same night, which I said last week that I did not think that was going to happen, which is why I picked Brady Corbett for director. But because you picked Sean Baker for director, we kind of that just equals perfection at that point.
Yeah, I went, you went him losing director route. I went him losing editing route. And then I think once Sonora won editing, I thought, oh, well, there goes picture for sure.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because I think editing was after screenplay, yeah. So it already had screenplay and editing, and that should be it.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, I
ended
didn't
up
even know it
committing
was going to
to it.
win. I didn't even know it was going to win editing until we were talking about it. And man, I'm trying to think of any other like narratives. I mean, obviously we didn't get like the shorts correct, but
Oh my God. Well, I think if you want to try to get those correct in the future, anyone just actually watch them, because I
maybe.
think it's the first time ever that a film not in the top 3 in the odds won a short, and it happened twice this year.
Oh, really? For both shorts, or?
Yeah, well, 2 of the 3, I'm Not a Robot and then In the Shadow of the Cypress weren't even top 3 in the odds,
Mhm.
and they both won.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to predict the shorts accurately. It's interesting how like the momentum and stuff works because Honora just I didn't. I mean, 3 4 months ago, I didn't really think it was gonna just go and dominate the Oscars, but I did hear that the movie. I think the budget's like $6 million or something, right? Or like 4 million for the entire movie. But I heard that the production company spent like $18 million campaigning.
They, yeah, they definitely spent more money.
They spent like triple the budget to win all these awards. So, just to be clear, the Oscars, there's a lot of that behind the scenes. There's a lot of just people throwing money at it. And like we kind of mentioned in the preview show, I mean, there's a reason that Harvey Weinstein was able to get so many awards for his people. He's just a very energetic man. Let's put it like that.
Oh,
He's a very he doesn't know when to take no for an answer. So he's very good at forcing Oscar voters to vote for the people that he was in their corner. And yeah, he was a very Oscar nominated guy. I actually don't remember how many Oscars he got nominated for in total, but a lot of actors won in like Harvey Weinstein stuff. But
W take Zach.
yeah, no, just it's very funny to bring up Harvey Weinstein just because I feel like a lot of people kind of had this, for people that watch award shows, people that just follow movies. I feel like it was I mean, I didn't know he was like a piece of shit. It was in the air, like people knew it for years, like in Hollywood. But if you watch an award show, I mean, they would literally be like, "Thank you, Harvey." Like I mean, there was a solid like 5 year period, 10 years of just me hearing that because I feel like I didn't remember people bringing him up in 2007, 2008, but there was like a sweet spot for sure. Um, when I almost am thinking of like Silver Linings Playbook era Harvey Weinstein was when he was, for some reason, he just got a lot of shout outs like in the 2010s, right before his destruction. Um, so yeah, and I guess it's worth bringing up. I feel like Conan did a pretty good job as like the host, all things considered.
Yeah, he took some jabs at people in the audience.
Yeah, it was. I feel like it was pretty. It was a pretty normal, but just funny, but like kind of silly, kind of hosting. I mean, I definitely thought. I loved Nikki Glazer when she hosted the Golden Globes, but yeah, Conan did a good job. I was watching with my friend Sean, and we had a
Oh,
pretty good time. I mean, we were pretty amped when Mikey Madsen won actress. We were amped when I think The Brutalist won best score and cinematography.
yes, yeah. It was the second big winner to Nora. Nora took five, and yeah, Brutalist took three.
Oh wow. Yeah, it was a lot, a lot of stuff that was kind of predictable for sure.
What do you
But
think
no,
about
definitely.
Sean Baker though, winning four Oscars and probably still all those combined were less than Adrian Brody's speech?
Yeah, it was interesting because I thought Adrian Brody was so great in The Brutalist that I didn't necessarily mind that he decided to just have a crazy long speech, but I struggle to remember what he said exactly in his speech. I feel I wasn't upset about it or cringing about it. I thought he was. It's fine to like give an Oscar speech, but it's kind of hilarious that
Yeah,
that was like the longest ever. I mean,
we
that's kind of
were.
hard to believe.
I saw it at work, so like we put it on the loudspeakers so I could hear it, while still doing my job without, stopping. So it was kind of cringe for me in that respect that like it was blaring throughout the bar. And then
Right.
he goes, like I'll be cut the music, and then he does another minute and 52 seconds after that, and I was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, I've
And
definitely
then,
never seen someone actually defeat the music before. That was
well, I guess
new.
he did it for the pianist too. I didn't
What
know
he
that,
told
but I
he
saw.
told him cut the music.
Yeah, I guess that's why he said like I've done this before or something. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, him and Halle Berry kissed on the red carpet too.
Oh, I saw that too. That was.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was his wife, that'd be kind of weird, right?
Yeah, I was in front of his wife too, which is
Yeah. What
interesting.
is that?
Well, I think Adrian Brody is as Conor McGregor once said when he won multiple belts in multiple weight classes, the double champ does what the fuck he wants. So if you're a two-time
Yeah.
Holocaust survivor, yeah, it's your night. Let's just say that. But no, I mean Adrian Brody is he's cool. I kind of said it last episode. I'm not totally obsessed with him. I mean, I don't know where he ranks in terms of contemporary actors. It's hard to like off the top of my head to just go, okay, he's at the top of the list because I feel like it's been a minute since he's really had a role like this. And you hear about his you hear different stories over the years, and obviously everyone wants to work with him. Did have you heard the Thin Red Line story about Adrian Brody?
Wasn't he supposed to be like the main character and they cut like all of his stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. He I think he was on the cover of like a major magazine. They were legitimately
Oh, yeah.
anticipating him to be the star, and he showed up at the premiere and I think he had like one speaking line in the movie, if that. I mean, he's not even in the movie. He got cut out of the Thin Red Line in such an aggressive way.
Yeah,
And
there's 1,000 actors in that. Oh my gosh. But go on.
another story, Jim Caviezel, right? He's like, Jesus for Mel Gibson.
Yes. Yeah. And
He
Jesus again.
but he is a very Christian guy, and that's also one of the reasons that Malick became obsessed with him. There was this incredible article I read that he showed up at Terrence Malick's house to I think just to like talk through the script or something. I forget what it was, but I don't know if it was quite an audition. It might have just been a casual conversation, and again, I'm butchering this. I don't remember the exact sequence, but it was something along the lines of Terrence Malick's wife answers the door, and he had, I think, a rosary in his hands or something. And for whatever reason, I believe I'm pretty sure this is the
That
story. This
sounds
is so funny.
immediately weird.
No, yeah, it's so funny that I just am bringing up something. I'm like forgetting the details, but I'm pretty sure he gave Terrence Malick's wife a rosary, and they started crying and embraced before before he ever talked to Terrence Malick. He had like an emotional, quasi spiritual Catholic
Oh my
experience with his
God.
wife. And Terrence Malick comes out and he's like, "Why are you crying?" But he just immediately felt as though Jim Caviezel was just from a different planet, and he has just an incredible presence. He's amazing in the movie Deja Vu, the thriller with Denzel Washington,
Yeah.
and he's good as Jesus. It's just Mel Gibson is definitely pours it on thick with violence and stuff, and he's an okay director. But I anyway, not to get too off topic. Those are just two stories connected to the Thin Red Line as far as Terrence Malick being a lunatic and cutting someone out of a movie. And it's kind of hard to believe Terrence Malick was an Oscar nominated director like multiple times. I mean, he's just so out there, but he just became famous, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is the connective tissue to the history of the Oscars, but there was something about just having 5 Best Picture nominations where they would have a real sweet spot sometimes with that. I
Yeah.
I don't mind 10 because I like pushing kind of an eclectic kind of vibe, and like you pointed out, I mean, you predicted the foreign film or best international feature
Well,
this
what?
year. The fact that there were multiple international films nominated for best picture, I do think that's a good thing, and I think if you're going to have 10 nominations, you probably should have more movies from around the world, that aren't in English getting nominated. But there was something
Yeah.
about 5 nominations. I mean, just us talking about it, some of the years like 2007 to 2011 range. I mean, I think the Tree of Life, you know, was nominated for Best Picture. It's just, how is that even that actually might have been the first year it was 10, but I think it
I
was
think
when
the
it was
first year
5.
was 10 was 2009 to 10, like the Hurt Locker year.
Okay. Yeah, that was 2009 was the Hurt Locker, so the 2010 Oscars.
Yeah, or no, I think I don't know. I think so, yeah.
But I don't know, there was something about when it was 5 nominations for Best Picture that was interesting. You would get some really distilled like groups of movies. I mean, 2007, I think it was it would be the 2008 awards, but 2007 nominees would, I think it was like There'll Be Blood, No Country for Old Men, Michael Clayton. I'm pretty sure
Atonement?
Michael Clayton was 2007, and then 2006 was similar. It was just like Babel and
Yeah.
the Departed and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's interesting the years going by for sure. The Oscars are kind of the same throughout time in this weird way. Like not too much changes, but
I do think they're getting rid of this like narrative though that you're overdue for an Oscar.
yeah, no, that was nice to see because I
Because I mean,
appreciate that.
yeah,
I feel like especially if everybody kind of like assumed that Honora was going to win Best Picture, it makes sense just to give the person who is Honora the Best Actress.
right. I mean, yeah, she is Honora.
Yeah.
But I can even like when I was watching and listening, I really thought, oh, dude, she's gonna call Demi Moore's name. Like, screw it. Like, I'm gonna be wrong. And then obviously when it's weird in hindsight because when she says Mikey Madison, you go, oh, of course. But it still has a element of surprise, I guess.
Right. Well, I mean, I thought Emma Stone winning was really surprising when Emma Stone won for Poor Things. I thought she was
Yeah,
amazing in Poor Things, but I definitely thought Lily Gladstone was going to win. And I don't know, it's debatable who's better. I thought Lily Gladstone was just possessed and Killers of the
yeah.
Flower Moon, but I
I think
obviously
it's I
I
think
think
it's so difficult to have more of a performance where you're in the like a bed half the movie,
right.
and obviously Emma Stone's the more flashy. She's she's freaking like peeing, she's dancing, and you know. But
Well, it
yeah,
kind of is the same. There's a similarity in tone in the sense that even though the substance is more or less a comedy, the similarity in tone between Poor Things and Honora is that those are two movies that are basically comedies. And then the
yeah,
like really like I didn't really think the substance was super fun. It's just so on the nose. I didn't think it was all that funny, but it's definitely a comedy more or less. So I'm not trying to say it's anywhere near the tone of Killers of the Flower Moon, but I don't know. I appreciate that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else to really talk about with the 2025 Oscars that I can think of. I mean, the In Memoriam was crazy seeing Gene Hackman, David Lynch, and James Earl Jones as the last 3 names they did.
yeah. I
Kind
don't
of
know.
surreal because the Gene Hackman death is just so bizarre and
Oh my gosh.
strange.
Yeah, the story is
I
that
mean,
like his wife died, and then he just basically was in his 90s with dementia and wasn't able to take care of himself and died too.
oh, is that the latest you read?
Yeah, but working at a bar, people tell me that he was, had some stuff with Epstein and all this stuff, and
Well,
it,
working at a bar in QAnon County, USA.
yeah, he was like, dude, he had some shit on Epstein. That's why they took him out. I'm like, really? They're gonna take up like the 95-year-old guy? Like, we gotta kill him and his wife and his dog? Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy that it's Epstein related, but there's something.
It's very weird though, objectively, when you look at it, for sure.
It's weird. Yeah, there's probably some kind of simple explanation for it, but it's what's most weird is seeing the Oscars do the in memoriam. And I don't know if I can remember that off the top of my head of an in memoriam where the biggest person they shout out you just have this moment where I had this moment where I'm like, oh yeah, obviously Gene Hackman would be given a huge shout out at the Oscars. I just didn't even like think about it before the in memoriam happened. You know, I mean, I was just trying to figure out how much they were gonna give a tribute to Lynch because he's not necessarily what the Oscars are all about, but at the same time, he has been nominated and he's just so LA. And there was the fire theme throughout as far as trying to
Yeah,
honor the firefighters and stuff. And they would make they were pretty I thought the show was just very well run. I mean, I know there are probably people that get more upset about random ass shit than me, but I just I mean, compared to other
yeah.
Oscars I've seen, it was pretty much in good taste, and I thought the whole thing was fine, and I didn't think they did anything cringe necessarily, but it did feel kind of there was a spirit of LA in the air, which was it was cool to see in that way, and I think I might have
Keep
said it already, but
Jimmy Kimmel far away. Something bad is going to happen. Renew the Conan O'Brien host. Come on.
wait, what are you saying?
I'm saying if Jimmy Kimmel hosts one more time, somebody's going to get like shot randomly in the audience.
Oh
Like
my
something bad's
god.
going to. I'm convinced. I don't vibe with the Kimmel. He's done it what like 5 times.
Right.
Let's give Conan
Well,
another shot.
no, yeah, just throw Jimmy Kimmel in jail. I mean,
Oh god damn.
no. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I was gonna say just I don't know if I remember an in memoriam where someone's death is kind of mysterious. Like there's this weird vibe where I'm just like, yeah, how did he die though? You know, if he's in the in memoriam and
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, this is tragic, but what happened? And obviously he's like in his 90s, so it's very likely that he just died. I mean, I don't that's the thing is I don't think there's any foul play, but the details of it are so strange that I was a little bit when they brought him up, I was a little bit
for
like,
sure.
wow. I don't know if I remember an in memoriam where they're bringing up a
Well,
strange
I don't
death.
even know the criteria for the in memoriam because is it prior to the Oscars or is it just everyone that was in the industry in 2024 that passed away?
Oh no, it's definitely whoever died in the cycle between the Oscar shows. It's not based on
Gotcha.
like just 20. I mean, that would be insane if they were like, "Oh yeah, sorry Gene Hackman, one of the greatest actors ever.
I
Two-time
guess that
Oscar.
makes sense. Then in
We're going to make you
2026 they're like,
we're going to make you wait to 2026 to say RIP to one of like the most beloved figures." That would be crazy. But no, anyway, RIP. Not to just go right to in memoriam, but
"No, you're
um
good."
that was that was definitely an interesting moment, and I've said it before, but I think next year you're gonna get in the next year or two you're gonna get movies that are about the LA fires that win either best picture or best documentary.
Yeah, doc stuff.
That's written in the stars. But yeah, I
Well,
don't know if you had any other thoughts. I'm down to just have our more
um there was like
our conversation about film history rather
yeah,
than
I
just
was just
2025 Oscars.
maybe touch more on like the foreign film. Like I'm still here up I presumably upsetting, I would say, Amelia Perez.
Right, as in Amelia Perez was the favorite to win.
Yeah, I think so.
Didn't it win something else? I'm Still Here. Did it win another Oscar?
No, it only won uh foreign film and that's it.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't really know what that movie's about, to be honest. I thought Amelia
That's
Perez was going to
fair.
win, but it seems like it kind of lost some momentum.
I
And
think it was just yeah, with the timing of the voting and everything, people would I mean, they did will it to Amanda. I mean, Fernanda Torres did win Best Actress at the Golden Globes, so there was definitely some
that's pretty
passion for
cool.
the movie. But
Right.
I yeah, I think I don't know. That makes me a little bit happy that people are like, dude, screw this. I'm gonna go. I'm still here. I bet you there's people that voted for it that didn't even see the movie, like us. They were just like, yeah, yeah, that's second place for sure. So let's get over the hunch. Screw Amelia Perez.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, I don't know. The really interesting thing with the Oscars is I have so many friends that see every movie. I have, especially in the age of Letterboxd, you get to just look at people across the world seeing every movie, and I just go, oh, I haven't even heard of that, and then I just see five people see the same movie in like a couple day span, and certain movies I just don't remember anyone seeing. Like I don't remember anyone telling me about that film. I'm Still Here. And it was the same thing for Amelia Perez, but because Amelia Perez got so much attention, then I started hearing people seeing it. But it's interesting how that works. How it's kind of just random at times, like what they're. It's because again, I personally don't believe a movie should be given an award because the most people see it. I mean, especially in film, oftentimes a movie that grosses the most money is just not that good. And
Ass
obviously there are
cancer.
examples that what are you quoting?
I'm just saying that.
Okay. Yeah, fair. I mean, I'm not against
What are you?
blockbusters. They have a place and they're fun and enjoyable, but my whole argument is not necessarily that. It's just it's weird when the picks are very specifically movies that I just don't know who saw them when. Because I kind of hear about movies they'll play at a festival, they'll have a festival run or something, or I have, friends will see stuff and then they'll talk about it. But it's interesting when stuff kind of comes out of nowhere. And I don't know, maybe I'll watch it someday. Who knows? Again, like I said, I honestly, do you know what it's about? I'm Still Here.
Yeah, dude. She's still there.
Okay. Wasn't
Sorry.
wasn't that wasn't that the Bob Dylan movie years ago? I'm Still Here. When Kate Blanchett played Bob
Yo,
Dylan and
they had like
Heath
different
Ledger.
actors come in
Yeah.
and do the.
Is that what that was called? Or am I thinking of the Joaquin Phoenix
I don't
thing?
think you're tripping. Hold on. No, that's the one. Yeah, that's the Joaquin Phoenix thing.
Oh, okay. No, it's the Joaquin Phoenix when he was pretending to be in a documentary and it was the Casey Affleck movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even dislike that movie. It's weird that an international film just has that title, like a title that's already existed. And I'm just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know if there's that much more to talk about. So we can just transition to, I thought it would be a good opportunity to talk about the not the entire history of the Oscars, but it's interesting because there definitely have been great movies that have won Best Picture over the years, and I personally wanted to rank the best pictures all time. Not every single one I've seen, but just rank the best ones. And I thought that would be fun to do. So,
Yeah. Well, it's a weird balance because there's obviously winners. Most Oscar Best Picture winners had a better movie that was nominated against it. But sometimes you hit that sweet spot where it's a great movie, but you can't even
yeah.
have people dislike it.
Well, if we did a list of best movies to ever be nominated for Best Picture,
Oh
it would
God.
be it would be even stronger. I think some of the names listed, but yeah, I'll say there's like 12 or 13 masterpieces that have been Best Picture at the Oscars, and the Oscars have existed for like 90 years, um, so it's definitely a very small percentage of them end up being not a super small percentage. I mean, I have a list here of like almost 30 movies. So a lot of stuff that's really good. I feel like the Oscars will be really good, but it's it's very rare for it to be, The Godfather or The Godfather Part 2, which are obviously two of the all-time great best picture winners.
No, for sure. Did you want to start with your list, or did you want to? I think we should maybe like trade, like name for name, maybe.
Um, yeah, well, I'll do 12 of them just because I think those are like the legitimate, like, I mean, there's an argument to make that there's more masterpieces that I could like rewatch
Yeah,
and stuff,
sure.
but no, I mean, I got number 12 is The Sound of Music, which
Wow,
I
that's
actually
awesome.
did I actually did see that on 70 millimeter one time, and at the Music Box, and it was incredible. And I would say it's, one of the greatest musicals ever, but it's pretty it's pretty epic. It was an incredible experience when I saw it on film with a packed audience. So I definitely had to put that in there. And then I had number 11. I'll just do two. I had The Best Years of Our Lives. I think it's William Wyler. Also another great movie. I've only seen it one time, but I remember it being harrowing and amazing. But yeah, I don't know. Did you have 10 listed, or
I can expand it to 12 because I had like extra names.
yeah?
So number 12, and obviously, some of these might overlap. We might hear one name again because it's later on our list. I have the Deer Hunter.
Oh, damn. Yeah, you got that way down on the list.
Well, initially when I first saw it, I hated that movie.
What?
Just because I saw it when I was like 14. I'm like, why is he still shooting himself in the head? This sucks. Go home.
Go home.
But obviously, now I love it. Number 11, which I think was the first movie that you and I exchanged somehow, was On the Waterfront.
Oh yeah, when you gave me that Blu-ray. I've
Yeah.
only seen that one time. Um, but no, a quick note about Michael Cimino. Um, no, I definitely had the Deer Hunter ranked a lot higher, but Cimino is unbelievable. If anyone hasn't watched, his other films, did I probably did tell you about Year of the Dragon, right?
Uh, if you did, I do not remember.
Oh my god, it's insane. It's like one of the best movies starring Mickey Rourke. It's like Mickey Rourke in his prime, and he's just like he has so many insane lines in the movie. Just like, a lot of racial a lot of racial shit. But it's basically about him investigating like the Chinese mafia, and it's one of the most exciting and compelling crime thrillers ever made. I forget what the scene was, but there was this hilarious scene in the movie where he's like, "I'm just a dirty fucking Polak," and he's like
Whoa!
smiling. It was so funny, yeah. But no, that movie's amazing. The cinematography is incredible. But Michael Cimino in the '80s, I mean, and then what Heaven's Gate was
Oh, yep.
hated, but also an amazing movie. But I definitely think the Deer Hunter is, yeah, incredible. We'll get back to that for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel I wanted to revisit the best years of our lives before we did this because I do remember loving it and think it was just an incredible like classic Hollywood film. But actually, this is a good one to talk about because this is one that I just watched for the first time. Um, and I feel like this is more interesting as far as the background of this film. I heard some insane shit about this. I have at number 10, From Here to Eternity, Fred
Okay.
Fred Zinnemann, who I believe did Justice at Nuremberg.
Is that the
Um,
Frank Sinatra one?
yeah, it's a movie. Frank Sinatra won. Uh, he won Best Supporting Actor for it.
Damn, I did. I didn't know Frank Sinatra was. Well,
Yeah, and then Montgomery Clift is like the lead.
oh wow.
Man, I'm fucking up. I don't think it was the Nuremberg one. Sorry, Judgment at Nuremberg was
Okay.
I think that was directed by somebody. Oh, my fault. That was Stanley Kramer. Why am I thinking that Fred Zinnemann was the same director? No, I'm way off. But
He also did
no,
Man for All Seasons in '66, which won Best Picture.
yeah. So he's a multiple time Best Picture winner. But From Here to Eternity is pretty incredible. I mean, it's there's that very iconic still of Burt Lancaster kissing
Yeah, on the
Deborah
beach.
Kerr on the beach. Yeah, and I've never
Yeah,
seen the movie, but that's super iconic. And I literally just watched it a couple weeks ago, and it's this incredible movie about a bunch of guys in like the American military stationed in Hawaii right before World War II breaks out, and it's kind of multiple narratives about their lives and stuff. And Montgomery Clift is, one of the greatest actors ever, and he's just stunning in the movie. And Burt Lancaster gives a great performance too. And Frank Sinatra is kind of just playing like a drunk, but the main character, the Montgomery Clift character, is pretty fascinating. He's kind of like an outsider who's really talented and has like a ton of ability, both as not necessarily a soldier. The plot of the movie is really funny and interesting. It's that he transfers to this new company, and it's because they pick his old company, pick someone else to play the bugle or some shit, and he's just an incredible bugle player. So when they, in the military, they do all the iconic kind of horn sounds you'll hear in like a military movie. It'll usually be like a bugle, and the super iconic thing, like sound that you'll hear when you think about a military movie is this instrument. So they kind of wrap that back into the movie later on in this really powerful way. Um, but on top of that, he's a great boxer, and he like almost killed someone boxing, so he's refusing to box. But his new company is like, bro, you're gonna box for our boxing team, whether you like it or not. So they start punishing him for minute shit to try to get him to box for them. So it's kind of a
wow.
comedy in that way, but then it becomes tragic, and it was incredible. And then the ending is amazing, and just a very well written script. And there are just really insane kind of tragic parallels throughout the movie. And yeah, just such a well made, beautiful, classic Hollywood film. But the story I was going to bring up is I was reading a book about the mafia trying to assassinate Fidel Castro in partnership with the CIA in the 50s and 60s. This book called Mafia Spies. And in this book, when I was contemplating doing this podcast and thinking about what movies have I not seen that won Best Picture, there's this story that Johnny Roselli, who has been
Oh,
has been connected to the Kennedy assassination in a lot of ways, but he was kind of like the LA gangster. He really was putting pressure on people. So I'm pretty sure, I mean, there could be other stories, but I'm pretty sure the part of The Godfather where they're threatening the producer to make the guy star in the hit movie, right? You know, the whole thing with the horse's head and
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
That didn't happen in real life, but Johnny Roselli literally went to Harry Cohn, the head of Columbia Pictures, and he said, "I will kill you if you don't cast Frank Sinatra in this movie."
Oh my God, people are upset that Honora bought the Oscar, but
Yeah.
but here, but that's like the worst example of all time, maybe, right?
Yeah, and then Frank Sinatra won an Oscar too, so Johnny was
Oh, you
right.
know,
And then on top of that, Johnny Roselli
that proves that he was justified in threatening.
he was right. Johnny was right. And he threatened actually, I don't know if he threatened on this one, but he got Harry Cohn to hire Marilyn Monroe to her first contract with Columbia Pictures.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So Johnny Roselli being very good for cinema through, you know, and he probably killed Kennedy too. So anyway, what's the next? That's a nice little story. You can name. I can name another one. Maybe we can do two at a time. I got How Green Was My Valley at number 9.
Damn. I'll tell you this. I just watched that today
Oh,
before we
nice.
did this podcast tonight, and I it's not on my list. Spoiler, but I actually really loved it.
It's amazing.
I'm actually thinking about doing like a YouTube kind of like short review on it because you can watch it on YouTube for free.
Damn, I didn't know that.
And I thought, yeah, maybe, like
Did you watch it with
movies you can
ads or
watch for
something?
free right now. What's up?
Did you watch it with ads or something?
No, no, it was ad free, hour 58 minutes, entire runtime, just banged it out.
That's cool. Yeah, it's an amazing. John Ford is a pretty endless director. His Jean-Marie Straub and Daniel Houlet, filmmakers who inspired Pedro Costa, they did like a top 10 list. It was Jean-Marie Straub did a top 10 list, and I think it was number 10 on his list was all the Fords,
Oh my God.
which is hilarious. But it's kind of true. He's the definition of a director where he made so many movies that you can't even grasp how great he is as a director until you see 20 John Ford movies. And How Green Was My Valley, it's definitely one of his best films. I don't know if it's the best. I could see the argument being made that it's the best John Ford film. But it's an interesting controversy because everyone kind of just assumes, and I always assumed that Citizen Kane was way better and it was a huge snub is what
Yeah.
is kind of the narrative. But it's just not a true narrative. It's closer to There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men type of thing, where both movies were incredible, and I don't know. There's just such a strength and kind of this traditional feeling in John Ford, but he's just so good with massive crowds. I forget who it was that said this, but it might have been like a film critic. They said that whenever John Ford thinks that the movie's getting boring, he either has a bar fight break out, someone start to sing a song, or yeah, I think it's a bar fight or someone starts to
Yeah.
sing a song, are the two things that he'll always do.
Well,
And there's
there's so much fighting in this movie, and there's also so many, I wrote that, I was taking notes of the film, and I went, is every sing, is every scene gonna have people singing in it? Question mark.
yeah, he loves that. And kind of the really inspiring thing, because directors, they sort of have, you could almost call it like a coaching tree or something, or like a pipeline, like a talent pipeline. And a lot of times you'll see actors be small roles in a director's career, and then you see them blossom into the star. And with John Ford, he had a lot of guys that were basically stuntmen, and he has a lot of crazy stunts in his movies. It's kind of amazing. I mean, when you watch Stagecoach, it's people throwing themselves off of horses and all that. And he would have the stuntmen become the leads in his movies. So they all have this very physical, athletic presence to them. And John Wayne is the best example. He was a stuntman. He started his career as a
Yep.
stuntman. And when you see these crazy things, like in The Searchers, another one of his legendary films, that vibe is there. He really prioritized a certain type of uh person, and he's just amazing. I mean, we're only scratching the surface, but you can
No, you're
name a
good.
couple more films if you want.
Um, number 10 is very funny to me in a way, but it is Honora.
Oh wow, you ranked it that high.
I really did, and you know what was funny? I made this list because we were talking about this
I'm not
idea for the
opposed to it, but
podcast.
it's pretty good.
We were talking about this idea for the podcast, like, we can do a reaction before and after, and I jokingly had Honora at 10 before, and then I watched it again, and I was like, it. I mean, I think if The Brutalist won, The Brutalist might be higher on my list, but
Okay.
yeah, Honora in 2024 to 2025, winning Best Picture. I don't care. I don't care. It pisses me off. I'm reading these tweets of people that, when we were talking about the $18 million campaign, people are like, so you can basically buy an Oscar? That's a real tweet. Yes, you can. Leaves a very bad taste in my mouth. Kind of defeats the narrative of small budget film winning at the Oscars. Okay, fuck you. But it's an independent movie. What a joke. Whatever. Bribery? Yes. I don't care. I don't care if it was bought. I am totally, totally pro Honora for this year. And it's probably a
Yeah.
recency bias. And I think, we might listen to this podcast and be like, dude, oh my God, what was I doing? But
I think it's great. I mean, I think I've only seen it one time. I would, yeah, I'm open to rewatching it for sure. I thought it was great. I had it, to be exact, where I had it on my list. I have it at number 24,
oh, damn.
but
It's
that's
just, yeah.
that's through one viewing. So I
It's
could see
just the
myself
moments
making it
in
higher though.
this award season campaign. The really specifically the scene, you broke my fucking nose, and she's like screaming, and then at the end she's in your Borisov's frickin' embrace and she's crying, and I don't know. I think that I'm throwing that on the list. I got to.
Yeah, I wanted to rewatch it once when it won all the Oscars, honestly. But what do you got at number 9?
Number 9 is pretty kind of similar to like my Honora vibe with picking is 12 Years a Slave.
Oh wow, I wasn't even thinking of that. I don't even have that on my list. But
No,
I
yeah,
remember thinking it was great. I just haven't seen it in forever.
it's on my favorite Steve McQueen film. I would I love Hunger and Shame more, but
Yeah, I love Shame.
I think it's obviously enticing in terms of voting to have a movie about slavery. But
Okay.
if you're gonna make a film about slavery, I really think 12 Years a Slave has got to be one of the best pieces of cinema for an example.
Hmm.
And gosh, I mean, dude, there's so many people in this. Paul Dano's in that movie. I don't know if you remember Paul Dano being
Yeah, I
in it, but
forgot. I
there's
forgot
so
about
many people in
that.
this movie. There's so many people in this movie, and I don't know. I remember that year that it was weird because there was a tie for Producers Guild with Gravity and 12 Years a Slave. It tied at the Producers Guild Award.
I don't remember that.
So there are some outside factors, I think, be, that influence my list. Because I think like a movie, I guess you can say politically, socially, winning this does seem to have some sort of influence. But I think because of the fact that it is like I said before, probably the best film I have seen about this subject, it
Right.
deserves this recognition.
No, I mean I want to rewatch it just talking about it. So I remember the performances being amazing. I remember the performances being amazing and some of the scenes being really harrowing. and a difficult movie. I saw it in the theater when it came out, and I remember it being
Oh damn.
a difficult watch, but amazing at the same time. So what do you got after that? You can rattle off like two or three more on your list if you want, just so we can get through this.
Okay, I'll circle my three. Number 8, I got Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, fair.
Freaking kind of weird for a pseudo thriller horror. I don't know. I don't know if you can say genre, but winning that, and obviously,
Yeah, it's an incredible film.
yeah. I mean, they're freaking hitting on Jodie Foster the whole movie, and no, I love Silence of the Lambs. It's honestly one of my favorite films, and um,
I
I don't
had
know.
this joke that I've told to people before, but it would be crazy if they did Silence of the Lambs today, because then, well, first of all, Buffalo Bill would probably be the main character, and he would be like the superhero of the movie in 2025. Um, and then on top of that,
He comes back. He actually gets Buffalo Bill instead.
yeah, Buffalo Bill is the lead, and then he's like, put the vape in the basket and blow thick clouds. I just love that, him telling someone to blow thick clouds from a vape,
It's such a
like with
crazy
that
take.
voice.
I love that your contemporary imagination is like vaping.
Yeah,
Um,
put the vape in the basket.
no, number 7 is similar to I would say we mentioned earlier this or this could win this year, and it would still probably be on the list. Is No Country for Old Men.
Okay, nice.
Um,
That was
yeah,
that was
it's just undeniably like one of the greatest. It's got to be on this list, I think.
which number was it for you?
7 because we were at 9, and
Oh
then
yeah,
I.
no, that's a perfect segue. So I got Lawrence of Arabia at 8,
Oh
and then
wow,
I have No Country for Old Men at 7. So we both had it at 7.
that's
No
crazy.
Country.
Okay, because I'll cross this off to save time. Lawrence of Arabia is my 6, so we're kind of similar in those numbers.
Yeah. No, I mean No Country is definitely a perfect film. The Cormac, when he's real, I mean Cormac is just so quotable as far as the screenplay goes. I know I don't think he actually like wrote the screenplay, but just quoting his novel, it's it's a magical thing, and everyone loves Blood Meridian is pretty much considered one of the greatest American novels ever written, and there's some of that in Blood Meridian for sure. I haven't actually read No Country for Old Men, the book, but it's a pretty perfect movie, all things considered, as far as dramatic timing, dramatic irony. And I remember having a long conversation about it in high school when we watched it. We watched it like in a high school film class. I mean, I had seen it multiple times before I saw it when I was in a high school film class, but we had watched it and analyzed it in a high school film class, and
Well,
we're just trying to figure
I'm
out
sorry to interrupt.
what
Was
like
that extracurricular?
I don't remember what it was. It wasn't like after school or something. It was like a legit class, like in school,
Oh,
but it
you're
was
talking
it
about
was
No Country?
yeah, well, yeah, it was a film. It was like a film analysis course at my high school where we like watched it in class. I'm pretty sure.
Damn, we were
And
not allowed any R-rated stuff when
oh
I.
wow, damn. Well, fucking just more reason you're a loser. Like goddamn. No, I'm just
Clip
joking.
that,
Who
clip
cares about high
that.
school? But my teacher was just really pushing us and saying, and I used to talk to my teacher all the time about literature and stuff because I was just so obsessed with literature and film, and we would just get into conversations like, and he was really pushing our class about what does Anton Chigurh represent and he was really pushing it as far as the shifting of time, which I thought was very interesting. And obviously that's kind of reminiscent in the title. It's very reflective of the title for sure. But the movie kind of gets there in a way that you're not anticipating. But it's interesting because Cormac, I think he looked at and the fact that the movie is set in 1980 and it's not exactly clear what the era is at times. Like it's very kind of deceptive, and there's no music the whole movie, which I obviously adore something like that.
More movies like that,
Um,
please.
yeah, and just it's just symbolically just such a beautiful film, but it really is a very Cormac McCarthy film. It really is about history and there being these agents of evil that are unstoppable through history, and these figures of fate come crashing down on normal people that are just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and people just getting obliterated. And I don't know, just the timing and the pacing of No Country is definitely really special. I would love to rewatch it. But kind of similar to what we were saying with what I was saying with The Sound of Music. uh Lawrence of Arabia, I got that at 8, but it's a similar thing where unlike No Country, it's well, actually both are obviously great to see like in the theater, but Lawrence of Arabia is a 70 millimeter epic similar to The Sound of Music. I've seen both those films on the big screen in 70 millimeter, and yeah, I mean it goes without saying Lawrence of Arabia is a all-time great movie, even though it's not necessarily historically accurate. It there's I wouldn't go so far to say it's British propaganda either. I mean, I would say it's a reasonable kind of the take it has on Lawrence. Like I don't think it makes him more than he is, but it's that region of the world, it goes without saying he actually did not succeed. He didn't. The British put in a puppet king, and he got fucked up by the sods. So it's not like the British picked who would lead Arabia for very long. You know what I mean? So that's one of the funny
Yeah.
things about Lawrence of Arabia. Like he picks King Faisal, and this guy gets run out of Saudi Arabia immediately. But um, yeah, I don't even not to like wax poetic about Lawrence of Arabia. A very that's like a longer conversation for sure. Obviously, a great movie. I think most people have an opinion on it, but I'll name I'll jump around here because it's like kind of connected. But I got number 6 is the original Godfather from 1972,
Okay.
and I'll hold off on my number 1 just because that'll be like a surprise. But I got Godfather 2 at the second greatest Best Picture winner. I split them up,
Damn.
but
Okay.
obviously they're both perfect movies. I definitely think the second Godfather is better than the first Godfather, but if you said one is better than the other, I don't mind.
Yeah, it's a weird interchangeable.
Yeah. So I don't know. What number were you on?
I'm on 5. I have 5 at Moonlight.
Oh wow. Yeah, I haven't seen that one in a while either.
Another film that the first time I saw it, I thought it was just good. And I was like, it was good.
Right.
And then, obviously speaking of the Oscars, the debacle with La La Land,
Right.
which happened, and that kind of it didn't encourage me to see it again, but that was definitely something that is in everyone's minds for forever. And I've seen it 2 more times, and I really think it's something, dude.
Okay. Yeah, I mean I saw it at least twice in the theater and I remember loving it, but I just haven't seen it in a couple of years.
It's just it just I think it just gets at this freaking this lower to middle class, I don't know, not to be socio, but this middle to lower class,
Mm.
I haven't seen like a contemporary film like that is as good. I don't know. I think it's going to just age like fine wine. I really do.
Yeah. No, I honestly forgot that it won Best Picture for like off and on because I
It's
just kind of think of I
everyone.
think of like La La Land being that year, you know. But it's amazing. I mean, that was definitely a really great. Those two movies being the top two for that year were that was another year of a real really great movies actually almost winning and then winning Best Picture because I just thought I thought Moonlight was just one of those movies that it's hard to have a legitimate criticism of Moonlight. It's just so well made, and it's very emotionally resonating. The film definitely resonates. The further in you get, I mean, by the time you get like to the ending, I feel like I remember being moved by the experience of it, and like you're saying with like the socioeconomic stuff, it's kind of that counterpoint of this guy being more or less, in the closet in an environment where he has to present himself in a different way is a pretty powerful counterpoint when you have such understated performances and it's done in a really vulnerable way. Yeah, I mean, just us having this conversation definitely makes me want to rewatch some of these. Moonlight and 12 Years a Slave are
Oh
both
yeah.
amazing films.
Um.
So,
Well,
what number was that?
that was five for me, but my four is something that you already mentioned.
Okay.
My four is Godfather 2.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that Godfather 2 was the best picture winner probably for a couple years now. And I actually just recently rewatched something where I kind of had a change of heart, but I think that is definitely one of those movies. It is hard to really make an argument that anything is better than The Godfather 2. I mean, in almost any metric, but just on the metric of best picture winners, it is really at the top of the list. And
Well, it really also has to be. It has to be that great. If it is a sequel and its predecessor has already won a Best Picture win
yeah,
in terms of the subjective voting.
well, just I mean, oh my god, the acting and there's so many things. I mean, again, this is another. It's so funny doing a list like this because we can just go so in depth with all these movies like on it and it's
Sure.
on its in itself, but there are so many historical figures that the mob genre, whether it be Scorsese or Coppola, dealt with. Like I was saying with Johnny Roselli, like in real life, and you know, were bigger than U.S. Steel, the Hyman Roth guy who was a legendary acting teacher, and he's basically the guy who played Hyman Roth was a legendary acting teacher,
Lee
but
Strasberg.
yeah, that character is essentially Meyer Lansky, who was a notorious mobster who never went to prison. Like I think he died. He never went to prison. He was okay, and he was one of those guys. And I think The Godfather 2 does a real service to history because it's true. I mean, the mafia, they all had their investments in Cuba and they all got thrown out. And Meyer Lansky and Santo Tropicante and Johnny Roselli and Sam Giancana and all these guys, they had all this money invested and they wanted to kill Castro. Batista was a friend of the mob. And it's kind of hilarious that, like, yeah, fascist governments seem to like the mob. for some reason, and the leftist governments that the CIA wants to get rid of will, kick the mob out of their country. It's hilarious when you really look at it like that. But that seems to be, the historical truth of it. And I've said it before with The Godfather Part Two, but I think that The Godfather Part Two is one of the best examples of a movie showing blackmail and how it works. And it's, Michael Corleone saying to his wife, "It's between the brothers, Kay." That line is just
Mm.
incredible because he has the brother of this guy show up at this congressional hearing, and just his presence gets him to not rat on Michael Corleone. And she's like, "What did you do? Like, what is this thing between the brothers? I don't get what you're saying." He's like, "It's between the brothers, Kay." And you know what the reason is? It's the same answer to the question of how do you kill Hyman Roth? Sorry for spoilers, but if you haven't seen The Godfather Part 2,
Fuck
it's
you.
too late. We're gonna spoil a movie that everyone should see.
It's only been
But
51 years. You fuck.
so Al Pacino says as Michael Corleone, if history has taught us anything, we can kill a human being. We can kill a man. And then he proceeds to have someone gun down Hyman Roth, and then that guy gets gunned down immediately. And you know what? I remember asking my dad when I was growing up, how did they even manage to do that? Like, who would volunteer to die to kill someone?
Yeah, no, that's
And the
yeah.
answer is that scene with Robert Duvall when he's blackmailing the politician, and the politician has this dead hooker in his bed. It's blackmail.
Oh,
The whole thing is blackmail. The guy who kills Hyman Roth was probably blackmailed to death. He probably killed a hooker, and Michael Corleone covered it up. And he was like, "Listen, if you don't kill Hyman Roth in the airport, I'm going to tell the world that you're a killer," So that movie really is about history in a similar way that, Martin Scorsese movies are about history, but it's just taboo. It's taboo to tell the history of the mafia, even though it is history, because it's disturbing and violent and all this stuff. But it did happen, and I appreciate Coppola and Scorsese for telling all these mythical, legendary stories in their movies because it's a lot of this shit is just true. I mean, again, Meyer Lansky was never assassinated, I don't believe, but it kind of speaks for itself. And yeah, the dramatic tension and I mean, to me, The Godfather Part Two is like the most watchable movie ever. I mean, I'd say No Country for Old Men, Godfather Part Two are definitely two of the most watchable, like edge of your seat. You can watch it over and over again. Which so wait, what number were you at? You got to like five, right?
uh, well, that was my 4, so I'm on my top 3 now.
Okay. So I have number five, Casablanca,
Ah, fair, fair.
which is one of the greatest films in classic Hollywood. I actually just recently rewatched this with my mom, and it's just perfect. It's when the Hollywood formula hits so well, where every member of the crew is kind of. It's not an auteur film, right? I mean, Michael Curtiz is a talented director, but it's everybody is kind of at the top of their game, and it's segmented in that way, and then it's shot on a back lot, and it makes you think that you're in Casablanca, but it's obviously all shot in Hollywood, and the performances are great, and the cinematography is amazing, and the pacing is perfect. And when I watched it recently, it was as good as it's ever been. It really is a movie that gets better every single viewing. I mean, all these movies get better every viewing, but I would say Casablanca really gets better every viewing. You see so much more. And I got number four, The Departed.
Okay, well, I'm at my top 3. my top three features The Departed. So I think if you do three, we can also talk about The Departed after that.
Well, where did you have The Departed?
It's kind of big fucking.
Just do all three.
I have The Departed at number one, dude.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah.
I accept that. I thought you were gonna say like Twilight or something. Be a fucking idiot. Like a movie that didn't even win. But no, The Departed. I love The Departed. The ultimate way to explain The Departed is I've seen it probably 30 times in my life. It was the movie so my dad showed me R-rated movies when I was super young, and my mom got mad and told him to stop. So then I couldn't watch R-rated movies for like a couple of years between when I was like, let's say between I was like 11 and
Wow.
14. I like really wanted to
14's
watch.
kind of dumb, but whatever.
So actually, I don't remember when I broke through. It was kind
No,
of,
let's attack your parents. Like
but
14. No.
so just to give you an idea, my mom didn't want me to see The Departed when I was 10, but I desperately wanted to watch it. And literally, I mean, it was at least a year or two later. I was probably like 11 or 12, and my dad was just like, fuck it. I'll show him The Departed in a hotel room.
Yeah, put it on. It's fucking.
We just
It's
said,
good. Put it on. I don't know why your dad has that accent, but put it on. Let's actually watch the movie. Yeah.
but my mom had always said, like, people were, I mean, my mom and then my mom's like sister, they're just like, yeah, it's the most violent movie. I mean, he just kills every character. That's what I was told before I saw the movie. They're like, Zach, you don't understand. They kill every character in this movie. And I was like, I'm a little boy and I couldn't be more excited for just
Oh, that
just
sounds great.
oceans of blood. Let's go. And I was so pumped to watch it. I remember loving it when I saw it, but I also was like, wow, I can't believe every fucking character dies. Spoiler alert. But that was the movie. The Departed would be on TBS and they would dub them swearing and they would say like flippin' and all this stuff, right? And
Yeah.
I would get so pissed because I would just have it on TV. I go, okay, The Departed's on. And I just put it on. I'd be like, man, this is a good movie.
Oh
Like
my.
every time I would, when you catch a movie on
So,
TV, you've seen it like 10 times. And I would
but
literally,
you're a kid and you're assuming they're gonna like say the words that you saw in the.
well, yeah,
Because
it's
that's what
partly
I did.
that.
That's what I did when I like saw movies on TV. I'm like, wait, what? They can't swear?
No, yeah, there's a little bit of that where you're like, damn. But even taking out the word is better than when they put in flippin' and stuff. But they used
Oh
to just
yeah,
put
like
in
there's a
like,
silence. Yeah.
yeah, the silence is better. So I would do this thing, and I swear to God, I've done this like probably I mean, I haven't done it in years because I just don't watch TV like I used to. When I was like living at home, like probably between when I was 15 and 18, living in my house in the suburbs, right? And I was just chilling in my room. If I was flipping channels and then The Departed happened to be on, I'd put it on. And maybe I would be watching for 10, 20 minutes. I swear to God, I did this maybe 10 times. At least five, let's say 5 times. I was watching the movie and I said, nah, fuck this. And then I took my DVD and I put The Departed in. I just start from the beginning and watch it with like swearing and everything. That happened over and over and over again to me, where I would see it on TV. I would be so wrapped up in the movie where I was like, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. And this is so watchable. I could watch this 100 times. It's so incredible. And then I would it'd be like an hour into the movie, and I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna start. I'm just gonna put my DVD in. I'll just start this from the beginning. And it's one of those films. I mean, you can really rewatch The Departed, and it's so quotable. I mean, a quotable script is kind of special, especially with the Oscars. You know, the a lot of the movies we've had in here, we haven't even mentioned like iconic lines like from the scripts, but The Departed has so many lines, and it's one of the great one of the great films about an undercover agent. You know, it's really an impressive film. I mean, again, I haven't even seen it in years, and I've literally seen it like 30 or 40 times in my life, and I still haven't even watched it in like 2 or 3 years. You know, and oh my god, it's kind of criminal that more people didn't win Oscars for that. I mean, Jack Nicholson should have won an Oscar for The Departed. I mean, Leo isn't even that good in The Revenant. He's insane in The Departed. I mean,
Clip that.
the performances are insane in that movie. But yeah, another movie we can go back to. But yeah, and then we already said I got Godfather Part 2 at number 2. But yeah, I got The Deer Hunter number 3, which
Damn.
I think The Deer Hunter is definitely just such a magical film. John Cazale, who was only in like 5 movies, is incredible
Oh,
in this movie.
he acts, and then it touches Best Picture every time he acts.
Yeah, and this is his last movie, I thought, but no, obviously it goes without saying the Russian roulette scene is one of the pinnacles of filmmaking genius. But I just love the music of it. I love the epic scale of The Deer Hunter. I mean, De Niro, Christopher Walken, John Cazale. It's just an incredibly acted movie, and even though they're screaming and stuff, like the acting is just so stunning. But man, it's always an amazing watch. And I was debating between The Departed and Deer Hunter. I think they're similarly ranked for me. I could rank The Departed over The Deer Hunter, but it's a similar era. Like I also similarly really wanted to watch The Deer
Yeah.
Hunter for a while, and just um.
He,
But yeah,
I
did you
do
have
want to
any
say
others?
though about John though. Every feature film that he did as an actor got nominated for Best Picture.
That's great.
5 for 5.
That's
Um,
Dog Day Afternoon, and then Godfather 1 and 2, and then The Deer Hunter, and
and
then
The Sting, or no, The Conversation.
oh yeah, I
Not
forgot.
the
Yeah,
cover,
you're in the
because
conversation.
Coppola is just on a mission. I also my 3 is Bridge on the River Kwai.
Oh yeah, I remember you loved that one.
I do, dude. I mean, I watched it when I was like 8 years old with my mom because it's my mom's favorite movie, which is I mean, I think it's if you tell me like Lawrence of Arabia is better than Bridge on the River Kwai, I'm good, you know. But
Yeah, I got Bridge on the River Kwai at 13, so right after Sound of Music.
damn, we just missed it.
Yeah, I've only seen it one time, so I'm sure if I rewatched it, I would. I mean, it's
Yeah,
so many of these movies are all. I mean, I feel like we've pretty much only talked about great films. I mean, I don't know if either of us has said a movie that was bad in the rankings, you know.
no, yeah, no, not at all.
But yeah, I remember that ending being amazing, and just the is Alec Guinness in that?
Yes,
Yeah, he very special actor. The fact that he was in these incredible David Lean movies before he was Obi-Wan Kenobi, because he was in Dr. Zhivago too, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
Uh,
Dr. Zhivago is great too. But no, I could see either or. I actually just watched the Passionate Friends for the first time, which was apparently an influence on Phantom Thread. and it was unbelievable. I mean, David Lean is one of the greatest directors ever, for sure. He's one of the greatest narrative filmmakers.
Well, it's sneaky because, like cinephiles, I don't see like any YouTube videos that are like David Lean, David Lean. But
Yeah, I mean,
but
he's definitely respected in like the AFI tradition of filmmaking. The American Film Institute would definitely put Bridge on the River Kwai and Lawrence of Arabia in the top like 100 of films that have been made in America, you know.
yeah.
And Dr. Zhivago as well. But even his lesser movies are incredible. I mean, I watched Journey to India a couple years ago, and it was a masterpiece. You know, I mean, he's so good with just cinematography is just completely astounding, and he'll build a film up in a patient way, but in a way that's like substantial. And Bridge on the River Kwai is one of his best examples of a movie that it just it leads to such a spectacular conclusion. And not all of his a lot of his films are epics, but I think Bridge on the River Kwai was his most tight narrative where you're really on the edge of your seat looking forward to where it's going to go, and it's not like spanning years, and it's not like a character study or a bunch of characters over like 20 years. It's a lot like the timeline is a lot more present.
Any other films that you have?
Yeah, well, I said fuck it, and I put Patton at number one.
Patton at number one. Okay, well, I do want to say before we go into Patton, I had Godfather, the original Godfather Part One, at number two, but Patton is let's get into Patton, dude.
Yeah, and you already said that The Departed was number one for you, so
Yeah,
yeah, we're pretty much done. Yeah, I hadn't seen. Again, my dad showed me Patton when I was insanely young, probably, and I hadn't seen it in forever. And it definitely really blew me away seeing it this time. I thought it was just incredibly prescient. It's it's very it's very much it's very much true to what America is, even though people don't kind of want to acknowledge what America is. And I think Patton as a human being was just one of the most emblematic of the divisive, mountain moving, larger than life personality Americans that ages really well because he won a war that was justified, but then he was controversial. The first scene in the movie is clearly influence on Kubrick when he goes on and does Full Metal Jacket. But first scene in the movie, he's just standing in front of the American flag, just cussing out his troops, and he's saying like racist shit. I mean, he calls the German, and this is important because this is historically accurate, and I don't even see this in any movies, but he calls the Germans the Hun, which is like super. I think it's just super racist. I mean, people don't even remember, but I mean, I think Patton accurately shows that in America we were also like saying insane shit during World War II. Like there definitely was a racial, all Germans are evil kind of vibe. And I am partially German, so I'm, allowed to say whatever I want. But the Hun, name is definitely super crazy. Like that doesn't even like you don't even know what that means by our standards today. You know what I mean? Like I can't even wrap my head around why they were calling the Germans the Hun. But uh, I wrote this review on Letterboxd, and one of my favorite lines: the Nazi generals are analyzing Patton from a distance, and they say Patton is a romantic warrior lost in contemporary times. And the whole movie he's just saying to his soldiers that he was reincarnated. And he goes, I was at the Battle of Carthage. I was one of the Romans slaughtering the Carthaginians or whatever. And he storms Rommel in North Africa, and he screams at Rommel, Rommel, you magnificent bastard, I read your book. So the whole movie is essentially generals on the German side and the American side reading each other's books to analyze how to fight each other in the field. It's like poet warriors. It's like it's spiritually people out of other eras confronted in this grand violence, that is World War II. And I was just really inspired by that. The I was inspired by the it's like out of time, he's like he's like in from another era. It's a person that's larger than life that speaks to history and isn't politically correct and all this stuff. And they literally featured it in the movie. I mean, it's like near the end of the movie. Patton literally did this. The World War II ended and he said, let's go fight the Russians now, and let's use the Nazis, and let's go fight the Soviet Union. That's like what he wanted to
Yeah.
do when World War II ended.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not doing the best job of explaining it in this moment, but there's something about in the year 1970 describing a person that is so great but so controversial, and having this context of he's more or less a poet, or there's this spiritual side that really says a lot about history in my opinion. And I think it says a lot about America. I think it's one of the most American movies because our country produces such large personalities, and at times I feel like people kind of lose track of what America is. And I'm not here to say that Patton should have been like the president of the United States or something. Uh, I'm not here to say that Patton was morally good. But what you can undeniably say is he was on the right side of history. I mean, he won the war. He was fighting against the quote unquote the bad guy. And this is one of the wars in American history that is 100% justified, and he was himself a controversial figure. And I think that says so much about history. It says so much about the coalition that brings forth the end times of history almost. When you're on the doorstep of hell itself, or you're nearing extinction, you need to have a coalition of lunatics to lead you from that. And there was something so inspiring about it. And it's a 70 millimeter epic. It's such a quotable movie. Francis Ford Coppola wrote the script, won an Oscar for the script.
Yeah.
It's one of the
Friggin'
most.
yeah.
There's so many quotes I'm not even like bringing up in this movie that were just insane, and it's so funny. And then some of the sequences where you're just seeing him like poetically speaking on a battlefield, and there's like smoking tanks everywhere. So it's an epic about a poet essentially, and like a guy who spiritually feels misplaced in time. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm really justifying why it's better than all these, because I've only seen Patton like twice in my life, but I feel justified putting it number one because a lot of these movies we have on the list reflect something about America. And to me, Patton really distills what America is, And I feel like that's more or less what the Oscars are over the years. I think the Oscars are kind of, for the most part, the best American movies of the year. That's for the most part what's the target. That's further, that might not be as true as the years go on because the studio system is a little bit less consistent than it was in the prime of Hollywood. But I don't know. I was definitely very riveted, and George C. Scott's performance is obviously incredible, and it's very direct because it's more or less a biopic and all this stuff, and you kind of know what direction it's going, but there's something about it. I posted a quote when John Jones, the UFC fighter, won a fight a couple months ago. I posted on my story Tocqueville quote, who's a French philosopher, and it was more or less that morality isn't so much the arbiter. It's not so much the how you judge a great person or a mover of history as something else, like this thing of greatness which Patton achieves. He's not achieving that through being a good person. you know, like that's kind of my Machiavellian conclusion with Patton, is that it's one of the greatest examples of a movie that knows what the movers of history had to dig deep inside to achieve. It's what it is to be a mover of history is a lot more complicated than being like a teacher's pet in school, and you give your teacher like the apple or something. Like it's you're a lunatic, like lunatics who move mountains, who think that they are reincarnated from ancient Rome, and they lust for bloodshed. Like those are the people that survive history. I mean, it's dark, but I think that's a kind of a Machiavellian truth. I mean, these characters that are suited to win a world war. Like, and again, I thought it's a very interesting thing that he's basically on the right side of history. Like all everything about Patton should be cancelable by 2025 standards. He shouldn't even be tolerated as a historical figure. But I haven't really heard anyone. I mean, I don't know. I don't think anyone really goes after an American general from the 40s, because it's like, oh yeah, well, he did what he had to do. And I don't know. It's also, you know, some people think he was killed by the military. He kind of had a weird, he didn't die in battle. Like he got hit by a jeep or something, and I don't know. It's very possible he got assassinated as well, but I'm not going to go that far. But he was a lunatic. He was dealing with Dwight Eisenhower, and they were thinking about putting him at the head of the D-Day operation, but he was the decoy. I'm pretty sure, because the Germans were so like obsessed with him that they thought wherever Patton was where the invasion was going to happen. So he ended up being the decoy because he was such a larger than life person. But it's a cool thing in film when you can depict a larger than life person and they're controversial, but they're also great. It slaps. That's all I'll say. So
As the kids say.
2025 Academy Awards. We'll be back in the next coming weeks with potentially a special guest. All right. God bless. Peace out.